Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair, and as I said for the Killer Klowns review, there is a sequel in the works, allegedly. There's been a sequel in the works for years and years, and I wanted to have a separate video to really dig into that, because there was a lot of information about that, but I didn't want to just do like I did with the Jeepers Creepers 2 review and say, oh, well, Jeepers Creepers 3, and have the year it's supposed to come out and have a reaction to that, because as we all know, it's well past 2013 and there's no Jeepers Creepers 3. So when I was seeing everywhere Killer Clowns, Return of the Killer Clowns from Outer Space in 3D 2016, I was thinking, oh, that'd be interesting. I'm like, wait a minute, let's look shit up on that. And there wasn't anything really listed on easy to reach, but when I did a little bit of digging and found, old forum posts and shit, there were people talking about it way back as far as 2011, or talking about it coming out in 2011, and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, fuck it. It's not coming in 2016. But at the same time, yeah, it'd be really nice. I would like to see something come. What are you doing, Tara? You just perched up there? Okay. But the interesting thing was also there was a lot of different things going on with people saying what, official people saying if they would make a sequel, what would it be about? There were a lot of conflicting concepts, and I can remember two pretty detailed off the top of my head. The first one I read sounded absolutely horrible to me, where it pretty much goes on the concept of the popcorn that sprouts into little tentacle clowns would eventually grow into the clowns as they were, and that's just sort of clown tadpoles or some shit. But that would mean that there would be a clown left over just from the initial invasion in 1988, and that clown had grown up living in human society, and then there's a new invasion and they must make the moral choice. Do they want to stay with the humans? Do they want to go with their people? And all this stuff. And I'm thinking, that's fucking Seed of Chucky. Don't do that. Don't fucking do that. No. We don't... I don't know about... I'm saying we, but it's more like just me, my personal opinion. I don't want that kind of bullshit moral dilemma thrown into a movie that is just supposed to be about having fun with the concept. And that's really what I think is the problem with that idea, is it tries to... I don't even know what the hell I'd say it's trying to do. Make a big moral kind of... Explore moral ambiguity and self-identification issues in a movie about killer clowns from outer space. That's... it's not a road I would really want to go down. There was another idea, another concept, not exactly entirely separated from that sequel idea, but another kind of idea that was, they're saying it was going to actually follow each of the protagonists that survived the first movie, and each of them would have their own sequel, a movie following them after the initial invasion. Like, there's a secondary invasion in a much larger scale, and we follow in each movie how it affects each person in their own location, wherever they ended up after the first movie. And on one hand, I'm thinking, okay, that sounds a little better, but on the other hand, I'm thinking, okay, you're kind of... There would be... Let's just say it's following just the first three. I would say that there would be at least 3 movies out of this. Let's say, because they were talking about Mike Tobacco on his own, just himself. He's, kind of a hermit in the woods at that point. And everyone thinks he's crazy because he has his stories about the killer clowns from outer space, and then he becomes sort of a Obi-Wan mentor figure to a new group of teenagers when the new invasion comes, and he's the guy who has the inside information on how the fuck to deal with these things. But if we're going to say that he's got his own movie, we can either say that then another movie would follow Debbie, and then another movie would follow Dave, or Debbie and Dave would be together and they would have a movie, and then you would have the Terenzi brothers with their own movie. So no matter how you're cutting it, we're talking between 3 and 5 movies. So that's a lot of shit. And if you don't have a lot to say in it, I'm not certain it's a good idea to really stretch it out across so much. I'm sure it's like really want to explore every nook and cranny of the Killer Klowns and everything, but there's also, with sequels trying to always one-up the one before it, there are very common problems to run into with that, and there's all sorts of shit that you have, all sorts of series that just run into the ground from sequel after sequel after sequel that weren't needed. And having, 3 to 5 to make the total amount of movies from 4 to 6. Does Killer Klowns from Outer Space really warrant that goddamn many? I'm not so sure. But if we just look at Killer Klowns from Outer Space, and I can say what would I like out of a sequel. Would the creators be watching this and looking for ideas or looking for opinions? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I just talk, and whoever listens, you can listen. That's kind of how I've always worked this. But things that are interesting to me that weren't really fully explored in the first one, of course, is the balloons. Lots of fan theory surrounding that. Some saying that maybe the clowns take human women, since the only ones we've had proof of them taking, was Debbie and some man's wife. So the only ones we know they took were women, even though they also cocooned women and ate them. But the only ones we know for sure they took were women, so maybe they take only women, and so maybe the predominantly male killer clowns mate with the women. I'm not so certain about that idea because it's, besides the, problem with genetics across the board, there were 2 female clowns, and there were some theories saying, they were in normal clothes, even though if you ask me, they look like they're in clown clothes, but they were in normal clothes, and therefore the balloons mutate like a super mutant thing, turning normal people into clowns. And I wouldn't really... The thing with the whole balloons for mating or balloons for changing people into clowns thing, I really think it's unnecessary. Like, the clowns are creatures from another planet, and they had to have grown and evolved on their own and had their own reproductive system, so having this as a form of clown reproduction just seems a little strange. And with xenomorphs, they require any species to implant their embryos in and reproduce that way. But with the clowns, I didn't really see much of that. If the popcorn is a clown seed, grows into the clown tadpole, and then eventually grows into a killer clown, then we do see from the Shado puppet scene the one clown turning the group of victims into a handful of popcorn. So that would work for that, and it would also make the balloon transforming someone into a clown superfluous. What I would want out of the balloon kidnapping part, honestly, I would want something extremely sinister, extremely kind of just horrifying, oh my god, no, they can't do that. Just something, that's why I'm being so vague about it, it's just something I wouldn't really think of. Not one of these, they mate with them, or they turn them into clowns. Just something horrible, some unknown, because I don't know, but something that it wouldn't be brought up in the first movie because it would derail everything. It is so holy fuck. It's like, we knew Debbie was in a bad spot, but we didn't know how bad. When we didn't know how much worse it is to be in a balloon versus a cotton candy cocoon where you're at least already dead. Something like that's what I would personally want out of the balloon part. Because it's also... they're taking them alive. There has to be some reason why they need to be alive. But at the same time, what is it's just what thinking, what would I want? I would want to be surprised. I would want to be pleasantly surprised. So of course, I don't know what it is that I would want it to be, but I wouldn't want it to just be what I've seen in so many, many other horror movies. But, guess the only thing really left to talk about is the concept of why has there been talk of a Killer Clowns movie for so long? Let's the Killer Clowns sequel, but it has just, slipped by the wayside. And some are saying that they need to get a, company to invest in them, get a production company going, so they can, get a studio to sign on so that they can go forth and make it. Others are saying that they're holding out so that they can have full creative freedom. I'm personally concerned, I guess I would say, about the idea that maybe them crowdfunding it, because seeing the crowdfunding and participating in it myself, I've been seeing the good and the bad parts of that. And I've seen several things get crowdfunded lately, and a lot of classic games that didn't get sequels or that got run into the ground. Now suddenly the original creator is back with a just different enough to not get sued version, now available to donate on Kickstarter. So, yeah, there's a lot of shit like that going on. So, on the one hand, I'm like, okay, it would be nice to have them with full creative control over a new Killer Clowns from Outer Space. But there's also the concept of, okay, they have a successful Kickstarter and then it still doesn't come. Stuff like that. Shit happens. But they were extremely, extremely good with their money in the original Killer Clowns, because it only cost $2 million. So they really stretched that, all things considered. But yeah. So that was 1988. So in order to have something of at least the same quality, they would need $6 million? I don't know. Something. Ugh. Everything's gone up, of course. Inflation. That's what it is. Yeah. There's a lot of musing that can be done, and a lot of interesting fan theories on all sorts of things Killer Clown related. But I always stick to, what does the movie say? Because especially with the fiasco that was Prometheus, it's like there are all sorts of fan theories that kind of fit, because the movie doesn't say that the movie doesn't prove them wrong, but the problem is there's not enough in the movie to prove them right either. It's just a lot of guessing, because there's a lot of stuff not there. So that was what bothered me about the parts that were not explained in Killer Clowns, is that they simply were not explained. That's just how it is. So I just would like a little closure on some things. A little mystery does help, drive conversation. Obviously, we're still talking about the damn balloons. But, I mean, just want a little more exploration onto the clowns a bit. How far one can go with sequels. I could see, deeper understanding of the clowns, but more mysteries brought up, and then eventually maybe some sort of weird shit with the clown homeworld. If you get that far into sequels, I don't know. What would the clown homeworld look like? I'm pretty sure it would just be big and shiny with little stars everywhere and all sorts of bright colors. And it would be in a solar system that's that has an orbit of being juggled. So that's just what's coming up in my head. What would it look like to enter the clown solar system? Oh well, I guess I've rambled long enough about it, non-sequentials and everything, and I've had this towel here for Tara to sit on, but she's just sitting there on the windowsill. The towel right here, Tara. You can now she's just giving me a look like I will rest where I want. You do not control me. Well, I guess that's that then.